Talofa America Samoa le taia matano fie le lofa maneana le li. Patalofa te fo ia la tau lo mama mai nei pro kalama I lunga a opena te whainangi malo soifua malo fo ta watai. O le tatou pro kalama masani le nei maosona whaupoponga fo ilea. O le Fale Lalaga utu whaatasia le tatou ofisa o le American Samoa Visitors Bureau. O le ofisa fo ilo o ngafa matangata ta whao mai tono le tatou atunu. O le nei la tae au, ia ua tau mai mo mai, ua whaatasi atu tatou po kalama I nei Pavaia'i. I le tu sifo fo le motu, ia ma o lo ma whaatasi atu ai fo I se tasi o tina o le atunu. Ua loa fo I tausanga o malue I le tamawhai e toina o la au nei au ngā mo fofo Samoa. O le tauina nei po kalama po nei fo I lau whanua o le Pavaia'i Healing Garden. Ia o lo mawhaatasi atu ai ma le tina le atinu ia Tilani Ilaoa, ia wa o ia fo I se tasi pe untou mai mua mai lunga nei lau. Ia o stemi o enma talanoanga, ia a o se tasi fo I walewa na lua I le ngau singa o Fasimoli, ia a mai se fo I whangu. Ia, talofa Tilani.
Talofa poi.
It's good to see you this morning. How did you start all this? I'm sure we're here at your home in Pavaia'i and we're outside here looking at the beautiful forest. Did you have your little mini forest?
Yes.
Can you share about that experience, Nani?
Yeah, well, this Pavaia'i Healing Garden portion of the land is about close to a 30-year project, and it began with planting 60-meter little forest of our native and indigenous trees. The purpose was to help save our trees that were really kind of disappearing, being suffocated out by invasive trees that were being brought in for decorative purposes or whatever, that were suffocating out our trees, eliminating our trees. But we have the additional blessing now that they're big and they're seeding and they're fruiting, of having our native birds. We have the lupe and the manusina, and the manutangi, who come and they inhabit this forest right in the middle of bustling Pavaia'i, because it's our native trees. Our native trees, we do more than save our trees, we save our birds, and our birds are really beautiful. So that's how it started. Then I became interested in medicinal plants, and I was gathering them and planting them here and there, kind of hodgepodge, but always interested in the plants. And then I managed a nonprofit here in Samoa for a lot of years. And when I moved the nonprofit projects to this piece of land, then I got some really good assistance from what I call traditional practitioners, Samoans who know how we used to do things with our plants and our resources. And they kind of took my haphazard garden, did all the heavy lifting, made it more beautiful. I was just focused on useful plants, and organized and really created what you see here, put some order to my ideas.
Ia mo le tatou atunu fo'i wa o te loa to o tele fo'i nisi wa sia si mai le nei atina e fo'i nei Pavaia'i. Ai alu lai matamatai fa fo o lo iai fo'i ia ingua wa umana whaapina le tina ia Tilani. Lea la au o lea o ngā fo'i o lea la au ma le ingua fo'i o lo whaongaina e tatou Samoa. Nani, was this something that you were inspired with from your ancestor and how they respect the land? Because I think this is very important for
well,
I've
been told many times by my elders that Malosi Lokoko Savai, that it's Savai people who like to plant and who like to be in the earth. But I also had a mother who was very interested in natural things and in plants. And the reason you see the signs by the plants, by a lot of our medicinal plants, is because the projects that I ran through the nonprofit, I always wanted to teach the youth who were part of the projects what this is and what it's for, and that we won't take care of it if we don't use it. In fact, we'll abuse it if we don't use it. And if we take care of it, there's so many uses for it. So all the many projects that I ran, the focus was almost always somewhere, except the Women's Business Center was different. But even with them, I wanted to do marketing of natural resources.
But
The focus was always on our resources.
And we'll come back to that as a closure when we talk about the several projects
Okay.
you have with our young people and also the women. But let's get to the fun stuff. It looks like we're going to cook up a storm here, Nani.
Well, you can eat all of it.
Really?
Yes. There's nothing here you can't
Let's start
eat.
with the nonu. I think, what's that to my more mind? Yeah, e foi lingo sa mo fa nga sa so le nonu ne. Le fa fa ngoi sa so pisa fa e foi ta alonga. Yes, remember playing with this, Nani, when you're growing up?
No, I remember more
Tongi,
playing with
the Tongi.
this.
Okay, so you take the nonu. What do you do with this?
Well, the reason I picked the few plants that I put out here is because these are plants that I use quite regularly with the different products I make. But the nonu, oh my goodness, I've made, there's oils. It lends itself to making oil, to making soap, beyond, I make a nectar. I make some internal plants, medicines that you can drink. But those are not for anyone except my family, because I'm not, not because I'm selfish, because I don't want to give somebody something and it doesn't agree with them. But I wanted to bring the nonu beyond making this project because it is so healthy, and I just wanted to briefly talk about how to make the healthiest drink from the nonu. And it's not the way you typically see of getting the nonu when it's starting to get pala and putting it in something and letting it get real, and then you just drink that. But if you pick the nonu when it's white, just when it's white, it doesn't have to be soft. This is when the enzymes are the strongest in the nonu, at this color phase. And you take this and then you put it in I prefer glass or stainless steel so you don't get plastic stuff in it. Put it and close it. And as soon as you see some liquid coming out, and it's not a dark pala liquid, it's a light brown, you know the nonu's getting soft enough. And then you squeeze the whole plant. And the reason you squeeze it and strain it is because you want the seeds out of it. The seeds are very sharp. And it's a thick, whitish color. It's a nectar. It's not just the rotting juice. And it is so healthy. And it's used for so many things. All our plants are. But I wanted to bring that up about the nonu because nonu's so plentiful here. And it's so good.
Okay, we have the other fruit here. This is the tipolo patupatu.
Yes.
What do you do with this, Nani?
This one is really good. It lends itself to, it's very astringent, and it's just, it's a powerhouse of vitamins, like all our citrics are.
There's a smaller one too. This is how big it gets.
Yeah, I can use it when it's smaller, but not too much smaller. But the rind can be used for, it doesn't lend itself well to oils that I've done, but I make beautiful soaps with the kipolo papaku. And then the lao of the kipolo, this is not it, this is the guava.
Okay.
I haven't yet, but I'm sure going to, because I know every part of almost all these plants can be used. The root, the leaf, the blossom, the nut,
Okay. Yeah, my phone tattoo what you know le moinga lo le. I think you call this lemongrass.
Yeah, that's what they call lemongrass in English.
Tattoo what you know. Yeah, a lot of nga ina foi le moinga lo. Yeah, fai foi le swati o le fiafi ya o te lo foi o tina foi ya nani ye foi ya na ya vai im fai na nga ina, right, Nani? You use the root for this.
Oh, I've used the root. I use the root. I use the leaf. We use it quite commonly in Samoa.
You just boil it, huh?
Yeah, you can make a tea, but if you use the root, you cut the very bottom part of it off. It's excellent for cooking, but it's also excellent, and even the root, the bulbs on the root, for sicknesses. But it's one of my favorite soaps that incorporates the moingalo. And again, it's antiseptic, it's antiviral, it's antimicrobial. Most of our plants are anti everything you don't want, and vitamin, mineral powerhouses.
Okay,
Yeah.
I remember while working at DOE, I noticed that you were a physics major. How important is math and science in your own work with medicinal plants, oils, and soap, Nani?
It's not important at all with my plants. It's important when I do this stuff.
Oh, it's this one
Yeah,
right here.
it's
Okay.
and it's math. It's math and chemistry because I want my products to be. I want the solutions. I have to make a solution for each of these plants to incorporate it into my products, and in order for it to turn out properly and be useful, the solutions of the different plants have to be they have to be mathematically correct, and then you get a good product.
And I
So,
think the old ladies will say that every plant has its own distinct use, right, Nani?
oh
For different
yes,
ma'i Samoa
oh
and
yes, but more than that, when I think of our plants here, and a lot of people, outsiders, or even the kids, when they would come on the project and they would say, "What is this? This plant says anti-inflammatory, and this plant says anti-inflammatory, and this plant says used for," and they say the same thing. And I said, "That's because every one of them has the properties amongst them are so similar,
no.
and their uses in Samoan healing are very similar, but it depends on what you mix them with. For example, if you put nonu together with lenga in a certain way, then you get a certain property
Hmm.
out of your product. But there's just it's reminiscent to me of Samoan Siapo, where we
Wow.
have 13 symbols, right? But those symbols can be put together and broken up in endless
Yeah.
ways. That's how it is with our plants too. You can put them together in different ways to get different
I
characteristics.
remember you saying that isi is also something that you boil and
That's one of my internal medicines. Family only, but yeah.
isi and guava. Ah.
Oh, guava and essie and guava both lend themselves so beautifully to oils, healthy
Mm.
soaps. And again, I use everything. I use the lao, I use the fruit. I haven't used the root, not of the
Mm.
essie, but yeah.
Okay, now the llama. I know we used to do akis back in the days with
Oh
this.
yes,
Yeah, you do the
yes. We
aki,
play with them.
play with
Yeah.
these. So
This is a this is a very healthy oil, and I wanted to show the stages because they're all over, and if, you need to recognize them if you want to use them. It falls off the tree looking like this. It's green and pulpy, and then the outside pulp falls off, and you get a brown, rounder one,
mhm.
and then this peels off eventually, and you get a nut like that. It goes through all these stages. See
Okay,
how it's
okay,
going from
yeah.
here to here. And once it becomes the nut, then it's ready to be processed, which is it's a real high heat but quick cooking just because it's so hard to get the meat out of the shell.
Mm.
I've seen online the way the Hawaiians do it, and they boil the nut forever, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, you're killing all the oil. But if you have a real high heat, I talked to an old Hawaiian woman. She
Hmm.
said, no, they shouldn't do it like that. A high heat for a few minutes just to loosen the meat, and then you dig the meat out of the nut. Oh, it's the oil that comes out of it is so rich. And this is what it
Okay,
looks like. This is quite old, but uh,
you can show it to the camera.
but I put this in soaps as a scrub. So it's not just a material
Mm.
that serves as a scrub for your skin, but it's a very healthy, rich oil scrub within the soap. I don't like the smell of that. One's been sitting out too long.
Yeah.
And by
Le
too
lawa
long,
tatou mai mo mai fo. Ia ole mea nei mo mai le fu
oh, makai.
le lama ah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mantua foi la leu fa matala atu. Ia e fa ngā la tina ia tilani foi. The same before it tatou wa ai le fasimoli. Ia ma le fa ngā ina foi ole lama. Nani, I see those right in front of you. They look like cooking seasoning. What are those?
Well, this is all
Oh.
seasoning for me too. Like I said, I eat all of this as well. But this is, I brought these out because this is and I only know the Filipino name. I remember seeing this plant as a kid, and I remember it being
O
cut
lau
down a
vau.
lot. Eh,
Well, o tātou sa moa pe ia le la fa mtala tu fo le tinaya tilani. Ia le au ngā fo o le nei la au. Ai mai moa mai la ia. Awal to salai lalo ai pe tipi lalo. Se tu lo ia ai ia fo lo na ngā.
It's a superfood. There are so many health properties in this. I urge you to, the Palangi name, the science name is moringa. Moringa, I think. The Filipinos call it malunggay. But I haven't, I eat this. You can eat it. You
It
can
has
make a tea with it.
a scent.
Very, very rare. It's kind of like tofu. Whatever food you put it in, it will take on the seasoning of the food. But it's so healthy. But I dry it, and I can make either a loose chopping, which I can sprinkle on food, soups, or make a powder out of it, which I can just put in tea and drink. But it's out because I think this is going to lend itself to a really beautiful, rich oil, but I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
It's something in the future.
Nani, how important is research, plant research, for your work, your line of work? You know, now they say it's STEM, and but both you and I know we love art.
Yeah.
So it's STEAM. So if you take this to the classroom, how important is that plant research for?
I'm sure there was a shorter, more academic way to go about it than what I've done, but I just got so much joy out of being with the plants, and it's just been hit and miss, experimenting on my own with what I know from Samoan healing and what I remembered from my mother, to what I can find online and remember from my science training, to especially my Uncle Frank and his mathematical training, teaching me how to mathematically break down the molecular structure of plants so that I can get my formulas right. So, but it's always a hodgepodge, but mostly it's just been years of my life experimenting very informally with our plants.
Yeah, what I told my more my la le nei foi la au le la au la le nei e tau le lena. Yeah, le la tau te wawa ai mai ai I ona ai a olona fua la lea. O lea la tau fai foi la le tinaya tilani e whamatala atu a wala ese e whapena ona ngalue ina ai le nei fatu. Ina ia mawhai ona maua mai ai ia tūlanga fo e mwhai ona whaangai nei whasmoli ia pe whaanga fo e whai ia fo e mo mai. Nani, I told you that looks like a kale Samoa.
And this is where curry gets its main healthy properties from, is from this plant, which will be criticized because it's supposed to be referred to as ano. And then
Ano.
when it's cooked, they call it lenga. But since that distinction is not made often here in American Samoa, and because I don't really cook it, I just refer to it as lenga.
Okay.
So yeah, and
Lenga or ano.
it's one of the plants that
have this
lends
other
itself not just to eating. It's so healthy to eat. It's one of the strongest anti-inflammatory plants on the earth. You can eat it. It lends itself well to making natural products like the soaps, the oils, everything. But it was interesting to me, and I tried it this way at first. The traditional Samoan way of processing this plant was so hard, was so labor intensive. You would take it from the ground, and then you clean it, cleaning it, and then you scrape off this skin, and then you scrape the whole plant, just like your, valupopo or something.
Valu.
Yeah, but it's so small. You can imagine how hard it is. And then you squeeze it. And from the squeezing, you squeeze the liquid out of these little tubes, and you just get a liquid. And then you leave the liquid in the sun. You leave it in the sun to take the water, the excess water out of it. And what you're left with is literally a fine powder.
Wow.
But it is labor intensive, and it is a long time. And if you don't do it, these are different grades of it.
Okay.
If you don't do it, even if the weather doesn't cooperate, and it's real rainy when you've made it, forget it. You're going to get your lenga. It's still just as potent, but you're going to get your lenga like this, and then if you crush it, you have the fine powder. So I wanted to try
Nani,
it.
do women mga for evaluate mo finger for their makeup?
I don't know because I don't do things that aren't useful. But I do know that I infuse it in a lot of oils, and
Oh,
it
okay.
heals skin, and it also helps skin to look nice, not just heal it, but look nicer. So if I see someone who wants something like, do I make makeup with it? I said no, but I can make your skin healthier.
Okay. What about the cologne you have?
Oh, so we're gonna hop.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna hop over to the. This is this is not something I. None of these do I do regularly.
Yeah.
These are all part of my
Yeah.
R&D, research and development. When a plant is ready to harvest, and I think, oh my gosh, what if we tried? And this is
it's important you said that. Yeah, mantua for that's what to know. Into my mom, yeah. O le si foi le me e sere mana ia o tātou lava ia la au Samoa wa e se male to ngā lue ina le ngā lue ina i fo i fasimoli i atunu i fafo. Ia o nei pensano atu tina ia Tilani. Ia se longa fo i e mawale la au ia pe fua mai fo le nonu ia ona fai la ia le fa pe fai ia sa uma o le se senga la le o le to ngā lue ina le fai ia fa nu ia ma fasimoli. Ia ma le fasimoli foi le te alu atu whaatau mai o le whale o loa. Okay, Nani, talk about that little cologne you have.
Okay, I had an excess of moso oil. And that was before I knew very much about the sedative properties of moso oil. Because in the old, when I learned this in Apia, the old fufu, they would always add either small pikake or the moso oil, not just to make it fragrant, that's what we think nowadays, to make it smell good, but because it has sedative properties, breathing that in. So you would get your fufu and you would have that moso oil bringing you down. It was a real biological activity that was going on. But I had excess moso oil, and I had pikake blooming, so I thought, why don't I try to do something? It's useful. Smelling good is useful, I guess.
So it's sometimes you do
this was a long process to make, because you have to make a decoction and wait a long time. But what I've noticed, this is years old.
Wow.
And maybe if I did more marketing, I wouldn't have any, but I don't. I do. But the longer it sits, the stronger it gets. It used to be a very light, natural cologne. Now it's much stronger.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, wa mai mo mai lan tātou atu no. Yeah. Wa ai la le mawa e te ngā lue ngā le tina. Yeah, le whang wha manongi nei. Yeah, e ngau sia la vel tina ia Tilani. E wha ngā ai le tele fo yo nei. La auto te mai mo ai. She didn't make this at a factory. So this is something that she does on her time. Like I mentioned before, sometimes you do a seasonal, Nani?
It's all seasonal.
Yeah. Pe fo e fua mai le la au, mantua fo i tātou o le moso oi, ia, se longa fo i o le tawe e fua ai. Talk about that, finish that up, and then we'll go to this one, the other product you have.
Well, this is just lenga. This is supposed to be this is almost like what would be thrown away of the lenga after you do the good processing. But the skin of it is still so full of the lenga. So I will infuse this. I will sit this for weeks inside our fongu and infuse, and that's what you get there, boy. And it is so healthy. That is a lenga infused fongu.
Yeah.
And that product can serve well in soaps and massage oils and in everything.
Yeah, le lawa tātou mai mua mai le whangu nei, o le whangu la le nei, ia e maua mai le ngau singa mai o le lenga, right, Nani?
Yeah.
Yeah, le lawa tō wa ai mai. O le whangu la le nei, e mawhai fo i la na whaanga, e mawhai o na whaiele whasimoli. Yeah,
in fact, those are lenga soaps right there.
So
the brown ones.
The brown ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Le lau tātou wa ai mai whasimoli nei, o kase mana ia. Yeah. E nau sia la wale tina ia Tilani, ia o le whasimoli la le, e nau sia mai le, I le lenga. Nani, when you showed me this the last time, it reminds me of Avon, and I know most of that would when I grew up. Avon products at the store, but see,
Avon calling.
yeah, when I saw this, and I remember, my aunts and all of those back in the days, and this is a balm. Talk about,
Yes.
olisi foi lea, wa tatou vai foi le, whaftai lava tinai a Tilani alo, whawau pe ana ngā luenga. Lesi lea tu ai ngā balm le iai.
You can see the lenga. This balm was made for real anti-inflammatory to take down swellings, real strong. This one was made more for skin, healing skin. There are different balms using different plants, but you can see the degree of lenga by the color in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although they both have lenga.
I.
But this balm and the soap are the only things that I do regularly. That because I know people in my family and myself, we need to use this soap and this balm. All these other products we've talked about, they're like the cologne. I do them when the plants are ready and when I want the product. But it's not something I do regularly, but just an example of this is.
So this is the salmon oil, Nani.
Yes, and
the fangu. Yeah, man tua foi tatou fangu tatou Samoa ona malulu e koa.
Yes.
Koa la ya nga fa pia foi le lo matua ya ave le fa punga se vai vera ko e kongu fangu ya ko e mawela il swa u le.
Yeah.
So this one you use it for the oils and ta-da! Loofah sponge. Believe it or not, we have this on island. Nani, can you share about your discovery of the loofah sponge?
Well, in the middle of making my soap, I saw something online about loofah plants and how easily they grow. So I tried to plant some along the Pavaia'i, and it grew so well. And I thought, wow, but of course, this is another thing that once I got the plant and saw how to clean it and process it and whiten it, then I didn't move forward with it. I thought someday someone would come along and say, why don't you do this with it? Once I understand the plant, I've kind of like to move on to the next step and not. This has much more to do with marketing, although I have my own for my own use. But the loofah grows. But a lot of people were taking the loofah before it was ready to become loofah, because a lot of Asian people eat the plant while it's green. And so they were stripping the plant before I got to make loofah, you wait till the plant is old and crusty and the outside peels off, then you clean it and you have the loofah. When it's young, it can be used for food, from what I understand. But yeah, so this was kind of like a sidebar, nothing.
Nani, okay. Now I have the oil, and I see this.
Oh, that's what gives my balm that is beeswax, raw beeswax. And this particular wax comes from a dear friend in Apia who has like a bee farm, or it's just a beehive really, in the middle of a nonu enclosed ranch. So the bees only eat the blossoms of the nonu. And so that's what I use as the thickening agent in the balm. I melt that down, get it as the same temperature as the fungu, and that's my base, and then I add my different plants to it.
Okay. Malo lava ia malo fo tata watu no mai mo mai o te lola ala kalata mo fo tata po kalama le ile na yaso. Nani, I noticed, well, I know you've been working with a lot of different projects with NASAC. O le tina fo ia Tilani, o le te leo o poloketi ese ele ngata sa ngalue ia ai fatu peina mai le federale. E ai le taimi sa ngalue fo ia ma Business Women Association. She was also doing siapo for young people at Chula. Olo ia foi 19 lava o nei le lotoa nei Pavaia'i. Olo nga lueina pea ia le ia la au ia mawa mai ia me fa mai na le vai. E fai vai Samoa. Nani Can you talk about your many projects with NASAC?
Um, I moved a lot of the projects here, primarily because all of the projects focused in some way on us being better stewards of our natural resources. Yes, it's true, we don't have a lot of resources, but those resources we do have are very rich and very worth caring for and, uh, and saving. So for every project I did, some were youth focused completely, others weren't. But for every project I did, I made sure youth were there because I think this is really important stuff to pass on. And so, yeah, all of them were in some way connected to our plants. Whether it was the siapo, where we planted the ua, we did the stripping of the lau from the ua plant, we did our own dyes, got them from the ua trees, learned all of this stuff, to teaching kids about traditional ways of planting, returning to healthy traditions like grow your own taros. No, you don't need pesticides. And this is where I have to give a shout out. Because of doing the federal projects here, I was able to bring in what I refer to as traditional practitioners. And so two people that I have to give a shout out to are my traditional practitioners, Tulele and Olianga Faleau, who really not only put some order and did the heavy lifting in this garden, but they made it beautiful. They Olianga reminded me that, some flowers would be nice instead of just this. Yes. So I'm most grateful to being able to move the project to this site, and most grateful to them for the assistance they've given. It used to be all my haphazard ideas of everything everywhere. And these two people who've been with me for what, six years now? 7 years. They really, I learned a lot from them. They learned some from me. Yeah.
Not only now that with COVID-19, there's a threat to our local economy, and the tourists are not coming. What's your advice to people who continue to do siapo, the farmers, the florists along the roadside? These are very difficult times, but I'm sure there's still joy in people like you and me when we go out and do our own, something like this.
But it's also our way of becoming self-sufficient. I mean, I prefer to work with our own local population and remind them, not show them, remind them what we used to do in my lifetime. I mean, if we needed kawanga when we were kids, we went outside and found the kawanga plant and made our kawanga. Now, all the kawanga is imported from Upolu. I mean, it's ridiculous. And one of the reasons we have such a litter problem is because we don't use what we have. And when you don't use it, you abuse it.
And I think that's important also when you teach the children, because if they don't see, okay, they'll come and say, oh, this is beautiful. What do we get out of it?
Yeah.
Because you need to not only show them how to respect the environment, but the uses of it, like we talked about today. If they don't know that,
it doesn't always have to be about making money. I'm living proof of that. I don't make money from this, but I can certainly use it, and my family can certainly use it. Few people who know about it to come. I mean, I haven't spent an iota of time in marketing because I'm not interested in it. I would like to just be a change agent on a small scale to show people, look what you can do with what you have right in front of you. And that's really my overall perspective of this whole thing. It's not what I do, it's not what I have, it's what we've been blessed with, what God has given us, and being able to find out about it. It wasn't my math and my chemistry, my physics that showed me do this, this, and this. No, it was digging my hands in the dirt, enjoying the calm that comes being around greenery. and just I didn't really happen upon it. This is all a blessing.
Because I remember while we were working at DCI, you said, "Oh, I'm going to make soap."
Oh yeah. Yes.
When did that idea come?
That was the idea.
You went over to Apia, right? And
Yeah. Well, it was my cousin Minnie who
Does she make soap?
she started with me.
Oh.
But our idea starting together was, you make it, I'll market it, which was just a good idea. Because Minnie loves plants too, but Minnie's not into plants like I am. I got buried in the plants. No, she really was the spark that made me start with the soap.
Minnie.
Yes, but then I moved on. I'd like to just to show how crazy my so-called some of the things, and I don't make these regularly, just to show what we can get from our plants, what our plants lend us to. Insect repellent, sunscreen, hand sanitizer, deodorant. Oh, my vaiuku too. Wonderful vaiuku.
Lo maua foi le vaiuku. Tele foi le uku o ulur whanau, o le sunga fe a Tilani. Talk about your vaiuku, Nani.
Oh, the vaiuku
What do you use?
Oh, there's lots of plant oils. There's really, really strong solutions of the oils inside the fungo'u. But what's nice about it is it's even kind to the uku.
Oh,
because
really?
when you use natural products, it's not going to kill them like those chemicals.
Yes.
But they will not stay there with those plant oils. So you just comb them out. They're like stunned. You comb them out. They don't want to go back in that head. But these are not things that I do regularly.
I know.
These are when
I see the citric there, the hand sanitizer. Wow.
When the plant is available and the idea strikes me, or God leads me to an idea, then I do all these things, but they're sidebars.
Somebody's going to come down and say, Nani, name one difference between your soap and the one they buy at the store, the commercial soap.
Oh, the most important difference between any natural soap and commercial soap is that commercial soap, look when you buy your soap, look at the soap bar and see if you see the word soap on it anywhere. Does it say beauty bar? Does it say cleansing bar? Does it say whatever? If you don't see the word soap, what you're bathing with is detergent.
What?
With a lot of chemical and synthetic additives to make it hard, to make it smell good, and to make it feel soft on your skin. But it's all additives. Because the soap process, naturally, what happens when you put an oil and a base together is this substance is formed called glycerin, and it's a very rich, healthy, skin-healthy substance. Commercial soaps extract it because it is very expensive. They sell it to makeup companies, they sell it to lotion companies, or they make their own more expensive products with it. Then they take what's left in the soap and they put all these additives in to make it smell good. And so this natural soap, because it has its glycerin, because it has no chemicals or synthetics in it, your pores will absorb it and water will rinse it right off. You'll feel the difference. Then with my soaps, I are added all the healthy plants to
I see.
Absorb this, don't absorb chemicals. Yeah.
Okay. As a former English teacher, classroom teacher, what is important of journal writing? Because I could see if you document this, how important is journal writing?
Unfortunately, my writing about these products looks much more like a science notebook than an English journal. I have a lot of mathematical formulas. I have a lot of solutions. No, that's why my English has gotten very bad doing this. But it's okay. Phase 2.
Phase 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tantono America Samoa, la tu leva le Tilani, na watu mai mua mai le tele, ma le ananoa io. O nei foi tūlanga me whai o na whai ia. Peo na sau no atu, o le sile nā ma tā whai o le tātou prokalama, e toi whangwhangu fo i tina ma tā ma. Le ngalue ina le whanua. Whanua sa fo ai mai le atua mo tātou tua a. O si taimi fo i o le a e mai mua mai I tama whainga fo i al tatou company o lo tu whatasia le nei prokalama I la au ese I te tonu o nei lawa whaatoanga I Pavaia'i e whapena ona whaalawi loa atu. But Nani, I'm going to give you the last 2 minutes to wrap this up. What do you see? Where do you see yourself in the next, let's say 5 years from now? Will you continue to do this? I know you're not interested in mass marketing. Well, let's see for ina ua for il tātou prokalama. Ai for ia tama tina. Ai mese for inisi la tunu o lo mana o mia se soani. Yeah, I say Fasimoli, yeah, I'll say, do you see yourself as Taulasia, Nani, may I ask?
For my own family, I consider
Okay.
myself a
Okay.
Taulasia. I don't
advertise it, or
well, no, I don't purport to do
Yeah.
this to other people who
Okay.
come in. I can make suggestions or whatever, but you said I'm not interested in mass marketing. Unfortunately, I'm barely interested in marketing. Yeah, much to the dismay of my family. It's like, what are you doing that for? But I see, as I mentioned, the value.
Yeah.
The value of this to me is much more the joy of exploring this creation that we're blessed with than. I mean, of course, it'd be nice to have some money. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll be blessed if I can continue the next 5 years just doing this sort of thing, and hopefully, not focusing. I have been told all through these years, what about selling? What about marketing?
Yeah.
Why don't you?
I know. I told you that many times.
But I'm blessed, hopefully, to give this to people who. I'm not going to give it to people who can afford it and want to use it, but for people who need it. If I can pass on that blessing, because this is not what I've done, what I can do, what I learned, what I know. It's what God has allowed me to discover.
Last question.
Yeah.
I know that we all want to be caregivers of the land, Nani. Share about your spiritual, the spirituality of this, because I remember yesterday we talked about, is it the lenga or the u'a that brings, Samoan spirits?
The usi.
The
It's
usi.
some of our real strong medicinal plants, and the usi is one of them, and I have a lot of it here, and they refer to it. They use it for what they call. Well, what Pavaia'i botanists who wrote about Samoan plants referred to it as ghost medicine.
Okay, this is not ghost medicine, people.
But it is. Yeah, there's.
That's interesting how that ties to the land and the earth
But overall, looking at the whole thing and putting it in perspective, just thinking about this, getting ready for this show, that is what I've gotten out of it, is just an appreciation for this creation and the blessings we have if we just look at them and how beneficial they are, even in this life on this plane, if we take care of them and use them. And that's the big picture for me. And I have to keep pulling myself back from, I can do this, I know that.
Yeah, lena al tātou atunu e me se fo I lātou wolo o mawa mai le tātou prokalama nei tai au o le whaasoa na Tilani Tilani Ilaoa mai lona ainga nei Pavaia'i. Ia, ma le ma whaataltal noa fo I winga I le tāua fo I o nei la au mo lātou wau ngā. E le se la au o te loa na whai e le ali I matu uina le tātou whunga ele. E le au ngā, le o tau ai mai le tele o au ngā ese le ngata na au ngā fo I mo tātou tino mai. Ia, ai au ngā fo I whai ai ia mea tau sami pe ngā se fo I mea tau sami a tātou a inga. E moli atu whaatai tele I le Tilani Ilaoa mo le whaavanoa ina fo I lona whanua nei Pavaia'i tate o mai ai. Yeah, it's a tala. How often do you open this for people to come in to the healing garden to visit?
All they have to do is come.
Oh, okay.
All they have to do
open
is
6 days
it's
a
not
week?
really like open. It's
Oh, okay.
And if it's not open, I'm right up there, and there's
Okay.
a phone call away. Someone's there who can call me. But it's
Ai fiasi mai fo ila nei Pavaia'i ia mana ia fo lona e malu a tonu fo e ave se fo inisi mai ia ma fa fia nai fo oe ia ile se o manga fa na tour fo ai mai ele tour mo tato nei aso e moliatu fa tai tele tato fa TV ia ai mai se fo ile 684 media tu fa tasino nei pro kalame ia e maua peale ava noa mo nisi o lo fia awal tato pro kalama ia vala au mai tato ofisa al terminei ia Samoae ai fo se ngana o sala a se fati fo i wale a se anga fo i wale tau tamali i le tina nei ma nei fa mon mole fa manga lo mai e man wia lava fa se saunga America Samoa to fa so fua